The first reading says that I consider the sufferings of this life as nothing, nothing compared to the glory that's to be revealed. I think sometimes we lose perspective of that. It's so easy to think that one day our lives will end, and that that's not just the end, it's the beginning of a new segment in our life, a new era. That reading calls us to live our lives in such a way that when that last trumpet calls, when God calls for us, that He'd come for us in all His glory, and that we would experience the joy that we can't begin to imagine. And yes, there's trials and tribulations in this life, but nothing compared to what God has prepared. One of our staff people, when his wife just had a baby, I mean, she did most of the work, but I'm sure that she was in agony when she was having a baby and said, "Don't ever touch me again." But when she saw that baby and rested it on her chest for the first time, I'm sure a lot of the memory of that pain went away. If you think about it, the period after we experience pain is often such joy, because whether it's a toothache and it finally gets fixed and the Novocaine wears off and you haven't bit your lip, feeling without pain is such a joy if you've experienced it for days or weeks. I remember when I was little, we used to go ice skating, and I remember that feeling vividly 40, 50 years ago when we would take the skates off. They were laced so tight so your ankles didn't twist, and then you'd put tennis shoes on. It was like walking on marshmallows. That's kind of a simple analogy of what God wants for us. He knows that there's trials and tribulations and pains here on earth, but it's all worth it in the end. I was doing a wedding this past Saturday, and I couldn't help it but be impressed by how beautiful the bride's smile was. And just thinking about all of the trials and tribulations of maybe going through braces, or the father and mother having to save and scrimp to pay for those braces. It was all worth it on that day when that husband looked at his bride, and when that father and mother looked at their daughter smiling and beaming at all the joy. Sometimes we in life want to take shortcuts. And in the short term, that temptation that comes to us, whatever it is, and we all have temptations, whether it's to gossip or who knows what, to overindulge, that temptation is short-lived, that joy is fleeting, but not the fleeting that comes from God. And sometimes we forget that when those we love pass from this life to the next, that what awaits them, if they've lived a life serving the Lord, is beyond anything we can begin to imagine. And that joy is something that we hope to experience ourselves, if only we keep faithful to the cloud of witnesses that lies before us.